So I've got the towel underneath her occiput, and I'm bringing it around to her forehead. Now I'm going to take my fist, maybe I have to show you from this side, take my fist and squeeze the towel. Now it tightens around her skull pretty good. Obviously I don't want to compress her skull, but enough. I'm going to use this side because it's just how I do it. Now I'm going to pull this with this hand directly towards me, not down or up, directly back. And I'm tractioning her neck. Now I'll move her a little bit from side to side as well. If this was the first time I was doing it, I would do a little bit and then ask her how it is. 99% of people will say that's just fantastic, that just feels fantastic. If they don't have compressed discs, you can also compress back a little bit and then pull towards you. Sometimes if you push on a stuck drawer and then pull, you get a better release. And a little more advanced, I'm going to hold her head in place and I'm going to drop that headpiece away again. Now I've dropped the headpiece away and I'm going to bring her up a little bit and I'm going to traction superior and a little bit posterior. Now I'm really stretching the front of her neck. So if she had, for example, head forward posture, I'm going to stretch down and back, and I'm going to put my hand on your chest and push the other way just to stretch those muscles on the front of your neck. That's okay? Okay, good. So, and just relax again there. And now I can, it's a little bit warm here with all the camera lights, so I'm kind of skidding. Normally my hand would just stick to her chest there and I could push. And so I'm getting a real good traction on all those muscles on the front of the neck and the fascia, and help her to bring her head back into from an anterior position into a better position. How's that feel?
Oh, it feels super.
Oh, good. Wiggle it around, just try to turn it both ways. Do you see how when you went to the right, you stopped, and then a second later you turned it further?
Yeah, that's further than I was doing.
Yeah. Are you feeling something pinch when you go to the right now or not?
A little bit in my back, but the neck feels good.
And that's important information. That's the other thing that I didn't mention. When I was tractioning, I'll usually ask them where they feel it, if they do. And some people will say, I can feel that all the way down to my sacrum. So you know that you're getting a real good traction. Some people will say, well, I can feel it right here. And they'll, from there, I don't know if you can see my finger, they'll point to their chest and point to their back. And they say, I can feel it right there. So now I'll slide my other hand underneath their back and go right to below the position that they showed me and press into that. Or I may even roll them on their side and use my little T-bar and twist their back a little bit and really press right into that area that they just showed me. Work it with the Precious tool, and then have them lay down and traction again, and this time pull and see if we got a good release in that area that they were showing me. Okay, roll on your back and let's see. And then I'm pulling straight towards myself, not in the direction that my elbow is turned. I think I just heard a little plop.
Yep.
Yeah. Was that down in your back?
Mm-hmm.
Right in that spot?
Yep.
Yeah.
And the same?
The place where he was with the T-bar and brushes.
And you see it's my legs that are doing the work here. I'm pushing. If I had a table with more leg room, I'd have my legs straight out and I'd be actually pulling. Now can you imagine if you had a device that was hooked to your chest? Now I could have both hands free to be feeling where C1 and C2 and working with them at the same time as I'm pulling and using my legs to traction. It's going to be awesome. Well, the hook here is no problem. It's putting something on here that doesn't compress the TMJ at the same time. See, I don't want to be pulling on her jaw. Now, do you feel it all the way down to your sacrum? Or to a different place?
I don't feel it where I was feeling it.
Yes.
I feel it a little bit inside my shoulder blades, just right there. I don't feel anything here. Like, it just feels open.
Yeah, okay. So we would mark that down or go and work on that.
Oh, that I do all the time, yeah.
There's a membrane that attaches to, I believe, the occipital protuberance, a membrane that hooks to the durotube. So
To the
you
what?
can, the
Sorry?
durotube,
That's what the spine is in.
down through
Uh-oh.
the hole in the spine is a tube that runs all the way down. Inside it is cerebral spinal fluid. Inside the fluid is the
Right.
cord. And that when you take the pelvis course, if the pelvis isn't sitting right, there's a direct connection between the hip bones and the temporal bones, the iliums and the temporal bones, and the sacrum and the occiput. And we won't be teaching that here. And also the durotube, sometimes if the pelvis is really off, it can be pulling in the durotube all the way up into this area. It could be jamming this up.
Mm-hmm.
The durotube, when it comes up into the skull, becomes the inner lining of the skull bones. It balloons out. It also divides the brain into four hemispheres, four quadrants.
Mm-hmm.
And so, theoretically, if it's pulling down there, it can actually even distort the brain.
Oh.
A really interesting couple stories. A little kid came in to see Paul St. John, and he said to Paul, he said, "When I stand, I'm smart." He said, "But when I sit, I'm stupid." And he probably said that to every doctor that he'd gone to see, and no one had really paid attention and thought, well, what a cute little kid. Well, Paul actually measured him and discovered that his legs were both the same length, but he had a hemipelvis, meaning one of his iliums was smaller than the other. So the ischial tuberosities that we sit on, one side was higher than the other. So when he'd sit down in school, his pelvis would tilt, and he'd have to correct, he'd go into some scoliosis pattern, and the theory that we worked from, or Paul worked from, was that the durotube was pulling on his brain.
Oh, interesting.
And as soon as he would stand up, that pressure was gone from his brain and he could think straight. And the kid knew it and told everybody that came around, but no one listened or no one understood. And so, of course, the kid was getting labeled as ADD because he would get up in the
His
room,
teacher would yell
he would
at
try
him
to
to stand.
stand as much as he could. And he would want to go to the bathroom just so that he'd have some time to listen while he walked out. And he'd come back and he tried to stand up the room as long as he could before the teacher yelled at him and made him sit down. And he then got a butt lift. Now, I haven't had an update, but I presume the kid is doing just fine because we know that he was fine standing. At some point, if not the first session, at some session, when you traction on them, feel the traction all the way down that durotube, all the way right down into the pelvis, right into the sacrum is what you're wanting them to say. Because if they're feeling something else tightening, it's a real good clue as something that you need to be working on and releasing. If you don't have time then, mark it down for your next session so you know to work them on their face down. You can work into that back more easily.
For the new ones, we're doing, okay, C1 location, the rotation tilt and shear.
I think you're gonna be a little sore
Clearly no activity there.
Positive critique. I really like, you've been practicing for over 20 years, right? I've been practicing for 7. You're brand new.
For a few months already.
A few months already. So what I think was great about yesterday is the way that you presented it. I mean, this is pretty, it's specific work, but we could all jump in and really get something out of it and all get something that I think we could probably just start using right away. Something, even if we're not comfortable doing the whole, everything we went over, but yeah, I mean, that's
I'm comfortable with everything. It was very comfortable for me.
so I think that's really neat because not a lot of classes offer that. Where it feels like everybody at all different levels could just understand it and, take something to use.